Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States. And also Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and his good old boys down south. Today is a beautiful January 27, 2017. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners across the pond in London, England, and Paris, France. But that's Spanish. This message was supposed to go to Latin America, but I forgot Donald Trump built the wall, so I can't send you any more messages Latin America. But we're going to go a little bit higher than Donald Trump, Big C, okay? So bienvenidos, Latin America. And, of course, there's no one I love more than Canada. I tell you what, I do love someone more than the Canada, Big C. I'm like Donald Trump. I keep speaking on alternative truths right now, alternative facts, but I want to say I love the good old boys in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
We deal with alternative facts down here all the time.
Yeah.
That's our life. You gotta always look at that alternative opportunities that may be existing out there.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the world of life, whether it's in the world of sports, and that's like we go hunting and fishing.
Oh, yeah.
We do it in alternative fashion. We do it without license.
Wait, you do it without a license, Big C? What are you, American?
That's the alternative way.
That's so funny. I didn't even know you good old boys had licenses down in the south. Nobody had a license when I went hunting with you guys that time, Big C. But I do want to say that this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And we know that Big C is the one that has all the mud on it. And again, I know it's the wintertime, Big C, but everybody's driving around right now in dirty Cadillacs, Big C. Have you decided to wash yours now that we're almost in February, Big C?
Well, Charlton, for Valentine's Day, I don't know what kind of gift I'm going to give my Big C. So she's my heart and soul. So
yeah.
We will go out and roll together. We might roll through somebody's rose bed.
Yeah.
A couple of thorns might scratch off a little bit of the moon.
That's funny, Big C. We all know. Did you say Valentine's Day? Did I miss it, or is that coming up in February?
It's coming up. I'm keeping her abreast of it.
Oh man, I thought you were like Donald Trump and changed the date on it, Big C. I know they've changed a lot of things in life, but as we get into the world of sports and politics, there's so many things that we talk about that's near and dear to our hearts, and it's nothing like being informed and educated. But for all the Americans who want to just not be enlightened, that's your choice. But on Big C Sports, we feel we have the need to enlighten you. I want everyone to Google HR 4760. It's a new bill that was passed, one of Donald Trump's first signatures, Big C. It was actually put out by Governor John Bel Edwards, the governor of Louisiana. And they have it called the Blue Lives Matter, like Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Well, supposedly, and I'm still looking at it, I was looking at it in the Huffington Post and pulling it up on different media sites. But now they consider resisting arrest, it can be a felony now. Okay, that's egregious. You can, in a land of the free, home of the brave, if you're accused of resisting arrest, it can also be classified as a hate crime, which is a felony, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, you think about the thin line that you have in creating a scenario like that against Americans. I don't think anybody wants to be arrested regardless of the scenario. And we see so often on a lot of these news outlets, some of these forcible situations where people are really roughed up and manhandled, and that's being considered as resisting arrest.
Yeah.
You got 4 or 5 officers holding someone down. Now they hit with a felony, and they didn't want to be pepper sprayed or handcuffed.
Yeah.
I saw that with a woman and her daughter down in Fort Worth, a few months back, actually last year, and the charges were just dropped recently by the local police chief.
Yeah.
But, they called the police because of an incident. They were African-American, against a Caucasian man who had choked her son, a young teenage son, and they were the ones that were accosted by the police officer.
Yeah.
They were slammed to the ground, they were tased, they were hit with resisting arrest, and, various other charges that were hit with and labeled over them for a year. And these girls were only calling the police for what you're supposed to do as a citizen.
Yeah.
So it extends the hatred that had always been there. And if anyone goes back and listens to Donald Trump during his campaigns, we're going to go back to the good old boys where the police could have did anything to them that they want. They didn't get out here like that.
Yeah.
And several other incidents the sound of a gun going off. So all these type of things that people wanted to elect as the president of the United States, which, not just the average person, but when we think about athletes and the situation so many athletes go in, Jonathan, especially because of the lifestyles that they lead, the vehicles that they drive, that, they're at a point of, when people talk about profiling, now they'll be profiled even more. It's going to make it tough for the average citizen, the average athlete to be out there, Jonathan, in society when rules like this are being passed. And it's only being passed against certain ethnicities in society. And that's the toughest part about it. It's supposed to be the land of equality, the home of the free, land of the brave, where everybody has equal opportunity. Equal opportunity just went through the door, back on the 19th.
Well, Big C, I tell you, and we talk about it because in the world of sports, and I'm going to say this, maybe it's being not the right thing to say, but because there's so many people, they know who won the game last night, but they don't know that a law was just implemented that could get them incarcerated for even questioning law enforcement if that officer feels threatened. Not hitting, not striking, but resisting. And that law was just signed into law the day that Donald Trump was sworn into office, H.R. 4760. And it's not just about black Americans this time. This will incarcerate white Americans too, Big C. And I know there's a lot of times when people sit on the fence and they say, what's this thing about Black Lives Matter and why should that matter? As if they're offended that black Americans like John Lewis cares about the plight of African Americans. But what this law does, with the help of Donald Trump and even the great governor out of the great state of Louisiana, John Bel Edwards, they've been devastated by the hurricane that flooded the South, Big C. But now even white kids, the ones that are called rebellious, the ones that go out and do things that law enforcement may feel threatening to them, like marching, like the way 5 million people marched, well, that can be classified as a hate crime if you are in any type of altercation with law enforcement that's sworn to protect and serve, and you're looking at a felony, Big C, with mandatory sentences, and that is draconian, and that is that why the good old boys selected Donald Trump, Big C, to lock up their kids?
Well, it really is, Charlton. They locked him up to bring a total separation in America, and if you listen to Donald Trump daily on the news, Charlton, that's what he's talking about, a separation of societies in America. He's trying to roll back the clock in America to where his people that he knows that he's associated with, Charlton, can profiteer. When you look at him talking about turning back Roe versus Wade, one of the most critical bills ever passed by the Supreme Court. And he's talking about rolling this back. This has been history, Charlton, and he wants to take this away. What Donald Trump is saying in that is that women's rights don't matter.
Oh, yeah.
They do not have a say-so about themselves. And so you have to look at all these women that voted for Donald Trump. Regardless of whether you're pro-life or not pro-life. Because there's some egregious acts that occur against women that force these various unwanted scenarios to happen. And he's saying, no, you're going to have to deal with it. And for a man, a single man in society in America, to say what everybody else can do and cannot do in this country. And I know we've always had presidents. But for this guy, he's gone beyond the presidential road and wants to be a dictator. That's the mindset that he's taking. People thought they were electing a president. They elected a dictator because they put him in such a power scenario that there's nothing that can be done about it unless he's impeached. So, everybody's going to have to tighten up their bootstraps and sit back and grin and bear it for a while because by the time he gets through turning the screw, everybody's going to know how it feels.
Well, Big C, ironically, he met with the Britain Prime Minister today, and I heard something that I didn't think I would hear because our society is more intelligent now, and we have this humane society. And I still say that one of the greatest Republicans is Senator John McCain, because not only did he serve our country, he was also captured in war, and Donald Trump made fun of him being captured as he was getting his deferments. But he tells the Britain Prime Minister that he believes in torture. Now here we are talking to the free world, that we're the land of the free and we're the home of the brave, and now we have a president of the United States, the most powerful country in the world, Big C, telling all nations that he believes in torture. What kind of light and example can America be when we ask, give us you're tired, you're sick, that's on the Statue of Liberty? How can we tell them that when the president says that he believes in torture, not in bridge building, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as sad as it is, I'm glad he said that. Because the greatest thing about that is that he's not hiding from the public what he is. He's not sneaking around doing it. And hopefully enough, irate will build up in our society that we're not going to stand for that. We're a civilized society in America.
Yeah.
Everything we do is civil and has something to answer for. Whether you have a penalty on a sports play or whether you do something illegal on the street, you have to answer for it. And when you have the leader of the free world talking about it's okay to do illegal things to other people,
yeah,
that's where the problem rises. Because the president of the United States says it, but yet you want to incarcerate people in America that do it to each other.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to order against somebody, yet you know nothing about this person in totality.
Yeah.
But, it's just your gut feeling. You feel you have instincts. The thing about the president, Charlton, is that he doesn't have, people instincts.
Yeah.
And what I mean by people is that person who doesn't wear a tie every day and a blazer to work.
Yeah.
He doesn't have instincts for those. So those people that were in the Midwest and all over America who voted for him,
yeah,
saying that we got our backs and we're sitting in those diners, in the morning having breakfast, drinking that nice cup of coffee, saying that he's got our back, he's going to make things better. He will never come to your neighborhood, okay?
No.
And that's the thing about it. He will never care about you. He wanted your vote to give him the opportunity to be what he wanted to be. But as far as what he's going to deliver for you when you're sitting down 18 months from now, I said, well, he said he promised jobs. We got to give him a chance.
Yeah.
We got to give him another 18 months. And then 18 months will roll into another 18 months. It's like this bridge. He promised everybody. I mean,
the wall. Yeah.
Mexico's going to pay for it. This week he comes out now, the taxpayer, American citizens going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And by the way, the companies that I hired to build this will be companies that I have affiliation with.
Yeah.
So I will have some kickback. Well, I won't have a kickback. My sons will have, a hand in it.
I tell you.
This is what America has to look at.
Well, Big C.
We never had a president in all this time, Jonathan, wanting to do these things to the American citizens. I don't care whether it was a president during wartime or peacetime.
Yeah.
We've never had a president wanting to enact crimes, technically crimes, against the American citizens.
Well, ironically, we talked about sports and how it interacts with Hollywood, and Donald Trump used to own the New Jersey Generals and tried to buy the Buffalo Bills, and they would not let him do it. The NFL, at least Roger Goodell hit a home run, or I won't say a home run, but a touchdown, and scored a touchdown on that one, Big C. And I just want to bring this up before we go to our sponsor, because we remember the things about how everybody, if you watch the documentary 13th, when white Americans wanted the Southern white vote, they had to have enmity or dislike for black Americans. Well, now a lot of black Americans are too politically savvy, like John Lewis. So now they've gone after the group they think is weaker. They go after the Mexican Americans. So now they label all Mexican Americans as rapers or murderers. And there's some people who are dumb enough to believe that. But with this law, H.R. 4760, they are looking at mass incarceration of white kids now, Big C. It's not just black men, okay? This is for white people because you don't have the lawyer, you don't have the money to go get yourself out of jail when you get locked up. You don't have $30,000 to put up to go get your kid out of jail because it's the lower class society that's going to be filling the prisons, Big C. They're the ones who can't go out and drop $100,000 on a lawyer. And so even as we talk about how athletes, mix with sports, the great Tom Brady, there's an article, it was in USA Today, there's a broadcaster by the name of Scott Zolak, and he's a former Patriots quarterback, and he's an analyst with the radio station that covers, I think the Washington Redskins, and they talk about all the teams on the East Coast. His whole thing is people are going to miss Tom Brady when he's gone. But Tom Brady supports the same president that supports the same governor in Louisiana that has H.R. 4760. Not everybody in Foxborough has money, Big C. We know a lot of people want to march the streets. They're also trying to get it so that if you march and you have civic unrest, that can also be charged as a hate crime. That's dangerous stuff. Read the Washington Post. This is not my opinion. It's already signed into law, Big C. I hope that people get a conscience to start reading. I want to say this segment is sponsored by the California Lottery. What can a buck do for you? I think the Mega Millions up to $180 million now won by Charlton and Big C Sports. And that's not an alternative fact. So based on Kellyanne Conway, should I say we lost 187 million, Big C?
Kellyanne, she's far from being right all the time.
Yeah.
The truth that she's telling, she's actually telling the alternative truth. So she's wrong.
Yeah.
But when you look at these scenarios, Charlton,
yeah.
how we handle what's going on in society now.
Yeah.
And how it cross-references with sports. We saw Jim Brown, the great Jim Brown. But even let me step back a little bit. When the guy said you're going to miss Tom Brady when he's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
And I got to think of the number of quarterbacks that we don't miss. We don't miss Joe Montana.
No.
We don't miss Dan Marino. We don't miss Terry Bradshaw. We don't miss many of the greats Charlton has been around. Jim Kelly, who went to 4 straight Super Bowls. No one else has ever done that.
Yeah.
We don't miss him. We don't miss Peyton Manning. He just retired. So when you talk about people going to miss Tom Brady,
for what?
The league will not miss Tom Brady. The league moves on. Tom Brady is a part of the league. He is not the league.
Yeah.
Yes, he's been an outstanding player, but he is not truly the face of the league.
Yeah.
So, everything passes. We don't remember Walter Payton. Not many big kids would. Eric Dickerson, probably the greatest 2-season running back in the history. Terrell Davis, back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, couple of Super Bowls.
Amazing.
With the Broncos.
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson, regardless of what people think about him, Tony Dorsett, Emmitt Smith, the league's all-time leading rusher. How many times do you hear their voice?
Yeah.
Even people talk about it. So when you talk about a player that's bigger than the game, it's like Michael Jordan. Everybody still reveres Michael Jordan of the younger generation.
Yeah.
But, Shaq, how long has Shaq been gone? No one sits around and talks about Shaq.
No.
Who was the dominant player of his era. Kobe's been gone just a year. Nobody's sitting around talking about the Mamba.
No.
So when you want to sit there and lambaste and pat and thump your chest and think that one athlete is the be-all in any given sport,
yeah.
It is not, Charlton. It is not. I mean, Barry Bonds, as great as he was and as much baggage that he had, greatest hitter of all time.
Yeah.
No one's talking about that. Pete Rose, the most hits in baseball. No one's talking about that up until Ichiro last year, but no one will ever remember him.
Yeah.
Because they're saying his record is in 2 weeks. So to sit there and say that one sports figure is greater than all, how many people know that Wilt scored 100 points in a game of this modern era?
Yeah.
Nobody, Jonathan. Nobody. They don't know Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double. So to sit there and say that Tom Brady is the greatest thing around the world of sports. He's been a tremendous quarterback throughout his career. The only records that he owns, Charlton, is appearances in the Super Bowl.
Well, but as socially...
But think about this. If he loses one more, who does he tie?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, Big C. That's very true.
He can have it both ways. He can be tied with Bradshaw and Montana for 4 victories.
Yeah.
He can also be tied with the Buffalo Bills and Jim Kelly for 4 losses. So he'll be the best of both worlds.
Well, as a conscious person, he's an athletic, good athlete. Been in the benefit of good coaching and a good system. But as a person of consciousness, he's intellectually vapid, and there's a lot of athletes that are given praise for just being dumb. And I don't care who you are, what color you are, whether it's him or Jim Brown. For any knucklehead to support someone who's supporting a law to incarcerate Americans just for resisting arrest, and you're gonna vote for that garbage? And you're gonna have these fans who will be out there buying your tickets to come see you play, and most of them, if they get arrested, they can't get out of prison. But it's just dumb. I'm tired of a dumb person out there. It doesn't matter, Tom Brady, Jim Brown. If you're intellectually vapid, I want to call you out. I just want to say that there's so many things that we can do because sports will bring us together, but it's not always going to be easy, and sometimes it's going to be painful, Big C. I had a cavity one time, and if you saw this TV commercial, this guy went to the dentist, okay? And I don't know if it was down south or what it was, but they had gauze all in his mouth, and he could barely close his mouth, and he said, whoa, that is a big cavity. And the assistant said, ooh, it is a big cavity. And the guy said, okay, well, have a good day. He said, well, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm not the dentist. I'm just here to search, to research, right? So, but sometimes you got to dig deep to get the wound out. If a person or a law is a cavity or a cancer, do you just ignore it and let it kill you slowly? Or do you try to eradicate it out of the body, Big C? And I'm tired of dumb athletes being given this pedestal of praise like they're paragons of virtue when they're just ignorant. Whether they throw a football or hit a baseball or dunk a basketball, is that a home run or did I strike out, Big C?
Well, Charlton, you're absolutely right because, so many people put athletes on pedestal. Granted, there's great forms of entertainment, but everyone is not the spokesperson. It's like when you looked at Colin Kaepernick creating a social conscience, he never said anything is saying, Charlton.
No.
He never sat out there and took races of people, culture, saying, this is what we're going to do to you. We're going to extremely vet you before we let you. We're going to torture you in questioning before we let you into this country, Charlton.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something?
When I look at America, is anybody vetting the Ku Klux Klan? Is anybody vetting the neo-Nazis, Charlton? Nobody. They're praised.
Yeah.
When you look at it, the neo-Nazis were backing Trump. He's not talking about not letting neo-Nazis into this country, Charlton. There has not been one saying about this.
Wow.
He has not been saying anything about that. I'm going to eradicate the Klan in America because of the hate crimes that they have committed over time here in this country. And they still look that way. But the neo-Nazis, Charlton, are the new Klan. He's not saying that I'm going to deport these people. Now, you tell me all of these people are Americans? No, Charlton.
No.
They're Europeans that have come here. Okay? They have come here and put forth their form of racism. They're South Africans that have come here. He is not talking about, deporting these people.
Yeah.
And they're fine because they look like him.
Yeah.
They may not have orange hair, but they do look like him.
Well,
and so they're okay.
Well, I tell you guys, something about the world of media, you do have an obligation. I think Dr. King, which I think is one of the greatest Americans ever, and along with Frederick Douglass, who was a slave but helped craft the Emancipation Proclamation, and that clause of 13th Amendment is the reason why a lot of people are incarcerated today, Big C, because it's privatized. But I just want to say that I hope athletes, because you can't really expect, you're not going to get anything from Fox Sports with Hannity and Rush. What's his name? Rush Limbaugh. What's Rush Oxycontin, Oxycontin, Limbaugh, and all that jazz. But you can't expect it from them because they also own stock in these companies that are invested in prisons and the privatization of prisons, and that's why they need to lock people up so their stock market can go up, so they can make more money at the expense of poor people. And if you don't think that's right, if you don't think it's real, just read one time for 1 minute. Google HR 4760. No matter what color you are, it's the law now, guys. And I also want to say this segment is sponsored by United Labor. Guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. We are endorsed by the American Heart Association and also the American Cancer Society. And we also work with all of the unions in the country under the AFL-CIO because we simply want to offer American jobs and we want to put people back to work. Big C, speaking of numbers and putting people back to work and people getting out of line, there's a number that came up about the Golden State Warriors, and it says there were 650 fans, which may not seem like a lot unless it's your money. 650 fans have been denied access to Golden State Warrior games because they bought counterfeit tickets, or as Kellyanne Conway would say, alternative fact tickets, Big C, and they wouldn't let them in the games. What do you say to people who want to go out and buy from the guy standing on the street corner selling Oxycontin and fake tickets, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, but that's a fan. How do you fault the fans for what you do?
Yeah.
There's been ticket scalpers throughout history.
Yeah.
Everywhere, in all events, whether it's a Super Bowl, the World Series, the NBA championship, any major events, the Stanley Cup championship, Charlton.
Yeah.
Ticket hawkers are around everywhere.
Yeah.
But people, think about the Super Bowl getting ready to come up.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that are victimized at the Super Bowl, Charlton, one of the most secured sporting events in the world.
Oh yeah.
As far as their marketing and the merchandise that they sell, their tickets are part of the merchandise they sell.
Yeah.
So this is Americana. This is people going out there. There's always going to be somebody wanting to take advantage of somebody. But Charlton, for these fans to be banned by the organization is completely wrong.
Yeah.
How do you ban somebody who wants to pay attention to what you're doing?
Yeah.
Who wants to support your entity? And they thought they were putting money into your entity, Charlton. That's what you look at.
Yeah.
They weren't out there saying, hey, I just want to throw my money away to go watch a game. I'm putting my money into this organization to keep this organization strong and there. But these are the things that happen.
I tell you, Big C, there's so much. When you go out and hubby tie sports and politics, we have people lying to get elected, and we have people lying trying to sell you sports tickets. Either way, they're both doing alternatively for the right thing, Big C. And I want to just bring this up too because we talk about the Super Bowl coming up, and obviously everybody loves it. It's like a national holiday, Big C. But I do want to take a little bit of time to pay homage to the great Wayne Gretzky. We have the NHL All-Star Game coming up Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC Sports. and that's going to be played at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. There's a lot of Mexican Americans that live in the Southern California basin, and the fact that this law is in Louisiana now, and they're trying to push it all over the country in all 50 states, HR 4760. Could you imagine sometimes when you have a team that will win a championship game, there are times when some knuckleheads will go out and start burning cars and breaking windows on businesses because they're celebrating that their team won a game. Well, now these good old boys, when they do it, no matter what color they are, at least in Louisiana, you know, where they have the great Superdome and all the great football and the Houdat State and those beads that you kick the stuff all into your luggage, Big C. Okay. Not you, but some of the other guys, you know. But the point is, when people get a little bit too out of hand, whether there's in Europe for the soccer or they're celebrating a world championship, they have to be really careful about being too intoxicated and resisting law enforcement. Big C, your thoughts?
You talk about that intoxication.
Yeah.
With this supposed wall going up in America, down on Mexico's border, what is America going to do about Corona beers, Charlton?
Yeah.
They're going to be gone. You can't afford them. And not only that, people don't realize in America, the founder of Patron Tequila,
yeah,
Paul Mitchell, also the Paul Mitchell hair products.
Oh, yeah.
He's Mexican. So all of his products are based out of Mexico.
Yeah.
So there'll be no more Patron, no more Paul Mitchell hair products in America. Think about what women are going to look like without being able to do their hair going to a sporting event. You know, it's
yeah.
a scary scenario I'm talking, but you know, when you look at, you know, controlling yourself.
Hey, you said that, not me, Big C. I said nothing bad about Kellyanne Conway's hair, okay? It wasn't me, Big C. Okay.
I think she also played on the Living Dead.
Maybe she needs some sleep, man. She looks tired all the time, dealing with the dollars. She's like, how did I sign up for this job? But anyway, her and Rush Limbaugh, they could use some Paul Mitchell. Go ahead, Big C.
When we look at people, celebrating a little too much, and it's not always about sporting events.
Yeah.
They celebrate, and I love the advertiser, drink responsibility.
That's an oxymoron.
Think about that. When you're telling someone drink responsibly, what, you telling me I don't drink the cheap stuff?
Yeah.
That's how I look at that. You're not telling the person not to drink.
Big C, obviously he's telling someone drink responsibly does not apply to Bob Kraft, because at the AFC Championship game, people were saying, did he have a stroke or did he just have too much moonshine in that cup? Big C. He wasn't responsible.
You should have saw Oxycontin standing in front of the mic at the office meeting, and it's like, okay, Jim, you can sit down.
Yeah.
The only thing that was holding him up was the podium.
That's so funny, Big C. But I just... Yeah, that's funny. That's funny, Big C. And back to the LA area, because it's such a diverse area. California is very diverse, especially in the heart of the Los Angeles basin. Over 15 million people, and the great hockey game that's going to tip off. A lot of it goes back to because of the great Wayne Gretzky, who came out of Canada, and he's a 9-time MVP. He was traded to from the Oilers to the Kings, and it was August 9th, 1988, Big C. And, hockey is not a game where people talk about segregation as much. It's about, do you like or dislike your team? Because Canada has a lot better racial relations than even the great United States, land of the free, home of the brave. How in the world does that happen? The United States is more diverse than Canada. Why are they more, I guess, egalitarian? They're more kind in Canada. Why is that, Big C?
It's always been a very liberal country, Jonathan. When you think about it, when slaves, the Northern Trail, it led to Canada. Many slaves went there.
Yeah.
Canada's always had open borders, Jonathan, for every culture.
Yeah.
From around the world, and I've been to Vancouver many times, and, you can't tell it much from the Far East.
Yeah.
When you think about it, when you look at the population, you look at the architecture of the buildings now, the building up there, in Toronto, it's just a total cultural melting pot.
Yeah.
I was up there a couple times for Caravana. Where you had a million African American people.
Wow.
For Caravana, you couldn't tell whether you were in the Caribbean or in Toronto.
Yeah.
But and it was all peaceful, Charleston, all peaceful. So when you think about a country with diversity and acceptance of cultures, that's what Canada represents, and that's what the United States is trying to get away from right now.
Yeah.
When you think about how hard this country is fought, when you think about the days when an African American could not play in a major league of sports, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball,
yeah.
in this great country that we have, hockey, African Americans were ostracized from these great sports and record books for many, many years because they knew once they let down those walls that these African Americans would dominate, and white could not sell that white supremacy power anymore.
Yeah.
You know, Adolf Hitler with Jesse Owens embarrassed him. You know, in the 1936 Olympics in Berlin.
Wait, let me ask you a question real quick, Big C. Are you saying that Adolf Hitler believed in torture?
He believed in, I mean, he and Donald Trump have a lot of similarities. You know, believe me, they have a lot of similarities as far as their thoughts on society and how people should be treated, how you should eliminate races of people. If you go back and you listen to any of Adolf Hitler's sayings, read anything about it, Donald Trump is a depiction of him in modern times. So
well,
the only thing he hasn't put together yet is the concentration camp, but I take that back. The prisons are...
They're called privatized prisons now, Big C, and that's the thing, too, because a lot of people, they won't get this anywhere else because they just want to know the score, and as we're looking at the score and who won the game, they signed that bill, H.R. 4760, which will impact a lot of people who are poor because they don't have money to get equal representation in the criminal justice system. And there are more poor white Americans than there are African Americans, even though they don't tell you that to try to get the vote, Big C. I also want to say that this segment is sponsored by One Life America. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. We are also looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers because we simply want to put people back to work. And we will pay out up to $1 million per agent for your E&O insurance. Now, who does that? You tweet out the Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. Also on Twitter at Yes Charlton, that's YAS Charlton, because we simply want to put people back to work protecting American families. And I want to say that for the entrepreneurial side, there was a story, an article, and we talked about it since the Muhammad Ali passed, Big C, and actually you were talking about it before he passed away, and this social consciousness thing, and there are a lot of good men all over the country who are trying to give back to the communities. Whether it's the great Harry Everett out of Stanford, you have an owner of the Miami Dolphins, his name slips me, but he has this group called RISE, where they're actually trying to put money into projects that will help employ people. Well, Magic Johnson, we were talking about the NHL coming to the Staples Center. Magic Johnson has done more as an entrepreneur that he's proud of than he ever has as a Hall of Fame basketball player, Big C. Why does Magic Johnson get it, but Tom Brady doesn't get it, trying to sell, I guess, some type of a non-profit foundation? He has a $700 baseball bat. How many young black and white boys can spend $700 on that garbage, Big C?
Well, Charlton, that's not even a real part of American society. You know, I grew up in a time when athletes gave to kids. You know, kids could walk away with memorabilia that they received from athletes. And now, when you look at athletes, and even the more prominent athletes, Charlton, which is the most embarrassing and egregious part,
yeah,
is that they're demanding money from these kids who struggle. There used to be paper routes when I was a kid that we could go out and save money for sporting events. They don't exist anymore. That's been taken away from kids. You know, there was a time when people were recycling. Kids were out, you know, collecting cans and bottles and stuff.
Yeah.
Recycling. You can't do that anymore, Charlton. So for a kid to struggle and try to go there and, you know, praise this so-called hero that they look forward to.
Yeah.
And this hero saying, well, you have to pay to be around me.
Yeah.
And that's what gets me when, you know, some of these top flight athletes now have these camps. And they're charging these kids, Charlton, $2,000 to $4,000 to come to their camps. Why do they need that money? You know, you got a multi-million-dollar contract.
Yeah.
You have these little kids that praise the opportunity to be around you. And you say, no, it's going to cost you know, $2,000 to come spend 3 days at my camp.
Yeah.
You're going to get a couple of hot dogs and hamburgers and french fries.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll throw you one football. But that's worth $2,000 to $4,000, Charlton, what they do to these kids. Football, basketball, baseball. You know, allow kids to be kids in America. Allow them to dream to be big.
Yeah.
Let them keep aspiring to be that athlete. But, you know, so many athletes, Charlton, turn off little kids when you look at it as far as what they would not allow them to be involved in. You know, they won't sign autographs when they're walking through tunnels. Now, you see the game. You will not reach up and sign an autograph for a kid, Charlton. That's so damn bad.
Yeah, you know, you think about it, too. And again, sports is less, just like going to the dentist sometime. It's going to hurt a little bit, but you got to get that filling fixed. Or you might lose that tooth. At the same time, everybody has to come together. If we screw up, somebody's going to tell us we screwed up. But no one's going to say you don't have freedom of speech, at least not now, Big C. Wait till Trump finishes up his term, Big C. And I think about the things that you just said. You were talking to the great Bo Jackson just the other day. Now, he's a good boy from the South, good old boy. But he had a great upbringing. And I think you were telling a story how you were talking to him at an airport, and he was able to take a picture with somebody, and he said, just don't sell it to somebody. I'm doing this because you acknowledge what I've done and as an athlete. Well, I love Joe Montana, but he wouldn't do anything unless you paid him. Now, here's a guy that can be a paragon of virtue for the NFL, never lost a Super Bowl, played with arguably the second best coach in the history of the NFL and Bill Walsh. I'm going to give the first one to Belichick. But at the same time, he and a lot of other athletes, that they forget how good they have it. They make a young kid, give them money to sign an autograph. Cam Newton gives away footballs for free, and he's villainized by the media. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Jonathan, because he set the table for what a white player should do, Jonathan. That's what Cam Newton did, and so media, the only way they could attack him by villainizing it. You think if a white quarterback was giving away footballs after every touchdown that he threw or scored in any kind of fashion.
Yeah.
He would be a sports icon, Jonathan.
Yeah.
That's all he would be. He would be on the cover of every magazine and billboard that you could. But the precedent was set, Charlton, by an African-American player. He went out and showed America's symbol what American athletes should do.
Yeah.
And he didn't say, I'm only giving them to black kids.
No.
I gave them to white kids, gave them to Hispanic, Asian, whichever kid that he saw wearing a Panthers jersey, he walked to them. They were not pre-selected. But, when we look at these guys nowadays, Charlton, players won't give away a wristband, a chin strap, or nothing. But Cam Newton was giving away an NFL football. He saves about $200 if you were to go in and buy one.
Yeah.
And he was giving away freely, and his teammates were giving them away. But because these were African-American players giving away, Jonathan, the media could not handle that properly and raise the pedestal and demand from the other athletes to equal what these players were doing. They didn't call out Ben Roethlisberger and say, you need to do this. They didn't say Tom Brady, you need to do this. Peyton Manning, this is what you should be doing. Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers. None of these guys were called upon, Charlton, to say, this is what you should do. You should follow the lead of Ben Roethlisberger. When you score a touchdown, give it to one of these worthy fans who have worked all week so that they can bring their son or daughter to the game.
Yeah.
Okay? Think about what they sacrifice. The average fan, Charlton, sacrifices to support their team. They honestly do. To go to live sporting events, it's a sacrifice. It's like you talked about those Warrior fans that are banned from going to the arena now.
They got alternative fact tickets. They were wrong. Over 650 were sold, false tickets, kind of like our political season. You get sold false hope, and sometimes people believe in it, Big C, until they have a law passed that says HR 4760. Thank you for your labor coming up, Big C. But I just think you're right. Everybody wants to. You got to understand that if somebody's doing wrong, you got to admonish them. Whether you're a preacher, whether you're a senator, whether you're a congressman, even if you're the president of the United States. I felt so embarrassed today to have our president tell a leader from a different country that's trying to do work with the United States in Great Britain that we believe in torturing people. That's meaning he would torture her if he thought she did something wrong, but is he going to torture Vladimir Putin for doing what they were doing, interfering with our election, Big C?
You think about Vladimir Putin, Charlton, and I guarantee you before we reach summer, he'll be at the White House. He will be invited to the White House. That's how far America has fallen backwards.
Yeah.
You're buddy with Russia, and we've never had a cozy relationship with that nation.
No.
And now all of a sudden they're going to be good friends.
Yeah.
There's a reason why. When you look at our Secretary of State, when you look at his ties to Russia, this is the reason why Donald Trump will not release his tax returns, because he owes Putin a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And people were not giving money to Trump freely. And so you went wherever you could to borrow it. And Russia had a lot of it. Russia also had a lot of illegal money and Trump would allow them to launder the money that he was getting illegally.
Yeah.
And so that's how Trump got his loans, where he was trafficking and he was laundering Russian money. So he's not going to release his taxes.
He was using those alternative loan applications. From what I understand, PC is called alternative loan application, Big C. But you know, it's
people might say we're anti-Trump. No, we're not anti-Trump. We're asking Trump to be honest, to be forthright.
I'm pro-American. I don't care what color the president. I'm pro-American. If Obama did something wrong, we also called Obama to the carpet. But he was anti-hate. How can you say you're pro-torture, especially you have one of the greatest Americans in the history of this country in John McCain? Now, I don't like everything about John McCain. I thought sometimes he was a bit too partisan when he dealt with.
Think about it, Johnson. When he was a prisoner of war, he was tortured.
Yeah, he was tortured.
And Donald Trump said that was good for him.
Yeah.
It was good for him to be tortured because he got captured. Me, I got defendants. I didn't have to go to Vietnam. My daddy bought me out.
And that's a shame. Yeah, that's a shame when John McCain is not the president. And of course, he ran against President Obama and he lost. But why would the Republican Party have a guy like Donald Trump, who's pro-torture, represent their party, as opposed to the great John McCain, who's a classy act. He's a classy man. He would not embarrass Americans anywhere in the world.
Well, Charlton, when you think about that, what did the Republicans say right after President Obama was elected?
They want to make him one term.
What was the guy, Mitch McConnell?
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell said we're going to do everything we can to make him a one-term president, and we're not going to do anything to help him. Now, this was the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Saying this, and this was Congress. So when you think about, and I look at how America looked at when you had all these Democratic senators and representatives saying they were not going to go to the inauguration.
Yeah.
And how much of an outcry that was. We thought this was the new white president. But when you had your elected leaders saying that we're going to do everything we can to make him a one-term president because he was black, and we're not going to help him pass any bills or laws because he's black, and that was acceptable.
Yeah.
America accepted the politicians turning their back on President Obama. They accepted it with gusto. The minute some politicians did not, and they were led by an African American, not showing up at the inauguration, that was a knock against the man. I never heard Fox say they were knocking President Obama. Actually, they rolled that, whatever the Republicans were saying against President Obama. That was that sugar in their coffee. You know, that's what they looked at, the cream in their coffee.
Yeah.
That they did not want anything positive to happen. But when they look at that, Charlton, they're talking about America. They might be mad at one man.
Yeah.
But they were hurting American society, and he did great things despite them not wanting to assist. The Affordable Care Act, Charlton, you know, it's there. Donald Trump cannot dismantle it. He cannot. Because he has to look America in the face and say, I don't give a damn about your health care.
Yeah.
That's what he has to say to Obama and the rest of the Republicans. Because what do you go out and replace it with? Insurance.
Alternative insurance. It's gonna be alternative insurance, Big C.
Charlton, this is why we had millions of women marching in America.
Yeah.
Because women are the most periled part of society when it comes to getting health insurance.
Yeah.
Medical companies turn them down left and right. Insurance companies turn them down left and right.
Yeah.
Because they generally have more problems than the male part of the population.
Yeah.
And so it was easy. They were preyed upon. You know, double premiums for females, Charlton. Why? These women are there every day, but you treated them differently, just like you always have throughout time. Just like in sports, Charlton, there's no equality when it comes to women. You look at the WNBA. They may not dunk basketballs up and down the court every time.
Yeah.
They play the most fundamentally sound basketball there is in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Gino R.M. where he's coaching with. Not Villanova, but
UConn.
At UConn. You know, Gino, you think about it, 90 consecutive victories, Sean. This is the second time in his career that he's eclipsed 88 victories. You know, in his career, in consecutive win streaks.
Yeah.
And you think about the young ladies that he has in his program, Jonathan, how fundamentally sound they are, how disciplined they are as athletes. They're the epitome of what sports should be. When you look at programs, when you look at the female programs, Jonathan, across the college landscape, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, they have dominated as far as integrity of what sports represents. Their coaches, whether male or female, Charlton, have been on the top of their game. And that's why I've always questioned, why haven't you had a female coach on a male's basketball team? You have it vice versa. You think about the victories the late Pat Summitt had. You know, you think about Coach down at Baylor, who's won national championship. This woman is amazing. Dawn Staley now in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Their attendance in basketball, women's basketball at SEC is greater than the men's basketball.
Yeah.
Other than Kentucky is the only one that really competes. But when you think about what these ladies have done in the world of sports, how they've raised the bar of competition to have scandalous programs. You don't hear about academic cheating in female sports.
Yeah.
You don't hear about these assault charges in female sports, Charlton. These women go out and carry themselves with dignity, and they represent America. And when you think about them in the Olympics, winning medals in soccer, in basketball,
yeah.
in swimming, the female athlete in America, and their bodies take a toll from being great athletes. As they get older, they need their health insurance. Well, they might not be in that corporate position where it's given to them free, and they might have to be able to buy their own.
Yeah.
You should not want to deny any woman in America, Charlie. When you talk about we don't like domestic violence against women,
yeah.
that is domestic violence against women when you want to deny them the opportunity to have health care. And that's what the president-elect is talking about. Denying women having domestic violence against women, denying them the opportunity to have proper health care.
Well, Big C, I think that's so important, and we got to bring these things up. And I also want to say that we have, because Big C Sports, we're not just going to be, let me tell you who won the game, the Yankees 5 and the Red Sox 3 and the Raiders, 21 and the Chargers 17. That's great too, but I hope if all you are is a dumb sycophant jock, at least follow in Big C Sports, just like the San Francisco Chronicle does in the number 4 media market in the country. You can learn to go do it for yourself. Just Google it for yourself, okay? HR 4760. I want to say everything in America is based on money. If you don't have money, you're going to struggle. That's just a fact. You can be intelligent, have 19 degrees. If you don't have money, you're going to be homeless. You're not going to have food. You're not going to have shelter. And you can even be rich and not have health care, Big C, with Donald Trump gets his wish, Big C. But I do want to say we're partnering with a company that provides business credit between $30,000 to $50,000. If you just follow the format, don't use your personal credit to create business. You got to use business credit. You can get that education on Big C Sports. Tweet out to us on the iHeartRadio network. Also follow us on Twitter at @YesAtTwitter. Big C, I want to bring up one more thing because it's a socially conscious thing, and it's amazing how you talk about the intelligent athlete. And again, I want to credit the San Francisco Chronicle because we've been talking about it for a year, but Scott Osler wrote about it in what's called the Sporting Green just yesterday, and today is the 27th of January. I want to ask people to ask themselves this question. When you look at how Colin Kaepernick, because going into the Super Bowl, there'll be a lot of talk about it, okay? Socially conscious athletes. He stood down because he did not appreciate the crimes that happen against black Americans, whether it's black on black or police brutality, okay? Now, people shouted him down. They hated him for saying that. Here you have the great Tom Brady and Robert Kraft. And they're not only are they pro Donald Trump, they're willing to speak on his behalf, and he stands up today in front of the whole world and says, I am for torture. Will Tom Brady or Bob Kraft have any type of pushback from the media for openly supporting a man who has said that he is pro-torture? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I'm curious which reporter will have the balls, and I'm serious about that, to ask Tom Brady when he's up on that podium during the media day, do you support torture? Do you support the president? Do you support his stance on all his political views? If they ask that question, do you support his stance on all political views? Because you're supporting, and if you say, you have to say yes or no. If you say yes, so you support torture. But will they put Tom Brady to the wall like that, Jonathan? No, he's too coveted. You don't want to embarrass him like you would embarrass somebody else. You don't want to embarrass him like you did Cam Newton last year.
Why not? Why not, Big C? Why not?
Why, Jonathan? Because he's the chosen one. He's a golden boy. We don't want to embarrass the guy that we figured, walks on water periodically. And so, think about it, Jonathan. If Cam Newton had been down in Rio nude like Tom Brady, what would have all the headlines been? What would have been the headlines if Russell Wilson had been down in Rio de Janeiro nude like Tom Brady?
Or Colin Kaepernick. You saw what happened when the guys from the Giants just had their shirts off, Big C.
The New York Giants African-American players just had their shirts off on a boat in Miami, Tom Brady walks around on the beach nude. It wasn't blown up on social media.
No.
It was okay. It was Tom Brady. He can do and say anything he wants, Charlton. He's a great player. Trust me. I mean, he has no equal as far as what he is doing in the NFL. But, socially, he's like anybody else.
He's not Muhammad Ali, Big C, that's for sure.
No, but what I'm saying is that he has to be held accountable for his actions and his non-actions socially. And when you look at that scenario, how the media beat up on these African-American players for taking off their shirts. J.R. Smith, when the Browns won the championship, takes off his shirt.
Yeah.
The media beat him up. Tom Brady walks around nude on the beach. It's okay. It's okay.
But let me ask you, Big C. Big C. But see, that's deep, and this is where you go to the dentist and they say you need a root canal. People don't want a root canal, but if not, that tooth is going to fall out. So why is it again? And I ask you because you've been around. We talked about the great Howard Cosell. We talked about the great Irv Cross, even the great Al Michaels. We talked about the late Pat Summerall. All these iconic people, and the great Brent Musburger that's retiring next week. There's a thing called Walter Cronkite. When he gave the news, it was just the facts, Big C. He didn't care if you were black or white. He just gave you the facts. That's why he'll be respected until the end of time. So why would someone question maybe a guy like the guy that was Odell Beckham for taking off his shirt, but Tom Brady walks around naked and nothing? Not even a story about it, Big C?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like you said, Beckham and the rest of the Giant receivers took their shirts off, okay? Tom Brady took his pants off. And that was okay. It was acceptable. Took his pants off, and tell me there weren't women and children walking around on the beach. It was okay. Regardless of what their society is, he's not from that culture.
Yeah.
He's American. So, he's still an American acting out in another country. He's still that American. He has that label. The NFL didn't want that to be seen. But they allowed all this other social media on the African-American players to be blasted out, Jonathan.
Yeah.
And the story didn't drop. It just wrote. It was the reason why the Giants lost. Was it the reason why Brady was suspended and let the air out the balls? Was that some type of body anatomy that, he was emulating?
Wow. I never thought about it that way, Big C. That's called an inverted fact, Big C.
So, let's be realistic. When they always say let's call a spade a spade,
yeah.
Let's call an egg an egg. They're right. And that's what we're looking at. He had that opportunity to get a pass for doing something that if he had been an African-American player, I think he'd have been one of the NBA players down there.
Yeah.
Because he had a bad game, it was because he was nude on the beach.
Well, Big C, that is so powerful, and see, we're socially conscious, so you can be dumb all you want to, but you can't be dumb listening to Charlton and Big C Sports. I want to close out on two more stories, Big C, in the last 10 minutes of the program, because I love people who think. I love when I'm forced to think, and maybe I'm wrong at times. I've been right and wrong. That's okay. That's how you grow, Big C. But I do want to take some time to we talked about the great Wayne Gretzky and how he brought hockey into the United States and made it more popular coming from Canada. And there's no wall between Canada and the United States, so thank you for not being in office at that time, Donald Trump. But I do want to say the Williams sisters, two of the marquee players that have ever played the sport of tennis, they're competing against each other in Australia, which is a country that was actually formed by England and Great Britain sending their prisoners down to Australia, Big C, in exile. But now we have a great economy in Australia. They host this great tournament. It may be the last time we see Serena and Venus compete against each other, at least professionally, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, for them to be in the finals, Jonathan, of the Australian Open, and at the age, this is like the two old geezers playing. When you think about the world of tennis, where the average player is in their mid-20s, the elite players, Jonathan, in the world of tennis, and we have a 37 and a 35-year-old that have eclipsed all of this and gone to the finals of one of the Grand Slam events in tennis, the Australian Open, Jonathan. This just resonates. And the most proudest part about it, that two African-American women, Jonathan, are setting milestones in a sport that they really could not participate in. When you think about the African-American participation in tennis, really didn't come along until the late 60s. That they were allowed to compete on the world stage. And here are these two sisters that grew up in Compton, in Los Angeles, in one of the most devastating parts of America. And when people talk about there's no hope for the children of these inner cities, if you give them an opportunity for an education and something to look forward to, there is hope. The Williams sisters are a perfect epitome of what
Yeah.
This is the best of America. This is what America is. These are the people that Donald Trump wants to eliminate from American culture. The top sports females in America, in the world of tennis, are two African-American sisters. But y'all can even on the flip side.
Yeah.
You got Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer.
Yeah.
You know, this will be the oldest men's final ever. 35 and a 30-year-old talking competing head up. When people thought their careers were over, the rejuvenation of these four players in this sport of kings playing tennis.
Yeah.
It's the only elite were able to watch and participate in for decades. But now it's dominated. When you think about the players that are dominated, you have three Americans, two of them are African-American, Charles.
Yeah.
And you have a Spaniard in Nadal. On the world stage, when you talk about a multicultural event in a country that was not diverse for a long time, Australia,
Yeah.
and they're basically being on top of the world, underneath the world.
Yeah.
You know, what better can you say? You know, this is uplifting because when you think about it, Australia's on the bottom of the globe. You know, when you look at it.
Yeah.
So they're holding up the world, representing the world of tennis. Two African American sisters, Venus and Serena Williams.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Big C, there's something that we know that real talk will really help people. I mean, you go to the doctor, you want the truth. You don't want them to lie. You don't want them to tell you an alternative fact. Rush Limbaugh, the way he sweats just sitting down, you can't tell me he can pass a medical exam, especially if they give him a stress test. But he's the guy that has money, so he can maybe go. Yeah. It's funny how one of the most unhealthy persons in the history of media is anti-Affordable Care Act, but he's pro-Affordable Care Act, but it's anti-Obamacare. What a knucklehead. And there's a lot of poor people that listen to that garbage, and he's trying to tell them that they don't need health care when their kids get sick. And that's just crazy. The last two things I want to talk about, Big C, is before we finish on the golf thing, I just want to say to all my brethren in media, you don't have to like what we say, but just challenge it. Go Google it. See if we're telling the truth. Google HR 4760 before you get mad at Big C Sports and see if you voted for the right person. I don't care, Democrat or Republican. Just Google it, especially if you have kids, okay? Now, the great Willie McGinnis, he went to USC. Tom Brady went to Michigan. They call themselves brothers. And I believe there's a linebacker in Teddy Bruschi with the Roseville High School in Northern California. Also played for the Arizona Wildcats under Dick Tomey. I believe they had that Desert Storm defense, Big C. Now, these guys are all different ethnic groups, okay? And they put their brethren to the test by saying, hey, brother, I love you, brother, love you, brother. There's also a guy that's on NBC. He was a defensive back, number 37, that plays. He does a lot of commentating on NBC Sports as well. The point is, Big C, athletes, when I've played, we told our brethren that they did right or wrong. Rodney Harrison. We told our brethren if they did right or wrong, where there's drinking and driving, where there's beating up women, where there's using illegal substances abuse like Rush Limbaugh does. We told them about that. So is Willie McGinnis going to stand next to Tom Brady, giving the greatest interview in the world, saying, I love you, brother. I love you, brother. You supported a president who believes in torture and supports this act called HR 4760 that's designed to incarcerate people if they're considered resisting arrest with mandatory sentences. And you know they're going after poor white people and black kids. Maybe Willie McGinnis doesn't know that, but will he even ask his brother that question, Big C?
He's not going to put Tom on the spot because he's going to say that the Super Bowl has nothing to do with politics. The Super Bowl is all about politics, Charles. The politics puts the Super Bowls in the cities that it's in.
Yeah.
And no one can be blinded. And they're just not walking.
But wait a minute, Big C. Colin Kaepernick was politics. That was politicized.
He was politicized, Charles, because he was an African American. And what he did was he made white America feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because he asked them to recognize what they were doing. That's all he did. He didn't, ostracize anybody. He didn't speak bad about people. He just said, this is what's going on culturally.
Yeah.
And this is where the change needs to come. And people that were mad at Colin Kaepernick were saying, well, this doesn't happen to us.
Yeah.
So why are you pissed off? That's what they were saying. It only happens to you people. And so if you act differently, it wouldn't happen to you.
Yeah.
Here's Colin Kaepernick that was beat up throughout the United States and still being beat up. Colin Kaepernick was even being blamed for the ratings being down in the NFL. And that's the reason why people weren't watching, because the quarterback that was on the bench drove down the ratings. Now, how can you say that nobody even saw the 49ers play but 2 times?
Yeah, that's funny. That's so funny. That's funny.
Let's blame the black guy.
Yeah.
Let's not blame Brock Osweiler, who can't pass for 200 yards in the game.
Yeah.
Because he's exciting.
Yeah.
He get 200 yards. Blaine Gabbert was a starting quarterback for the 49ers, and I think they scored 8 touchdowns while he was a starter.
Yeah.
8 touchdowns in 7 games or whatever.
Yeah, but that was Kaepernick's fault. That was Kaepernick's fault, Big Z. Blame it on Kaepernick.
He was setting the world on fire. You know, so when you say that people are not watching the game because of Colin Kaepernick, that just lets you know how small-minded you are as a person, as a culture.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying race. I'm just saying as a culture
of
people. That culture, that dynamic of mindsets that say things like that to find reasoning in someone else's. I mean, he's not Donald Trump. He didn't talk about he was going out grabbing women in the crotch.
Yeah.
He never made that type of statement. He never talked about, hey, you just go out there and beat the crap out of them.
And did you know that when
and stuff for your medical, he never said that.
And when the British Prime Minister was talking to Trump today at the White House, did you know how she stayed behind the podium the whole time, Big C? She was. Yeah. She heard that videotape that was on NBC that he denied alternatively, unfortunately. Yeah, that's true, Big C. It scared the Mexican president away, that's for sure. He saw the videotape. Last thing I'll say. Yeah, that's funny.
I'm a guy, and when Mexico, so they were shipping the Tic Tacs in, give me food for thought.
That's funny, Big Z. Last thing in the last minute, Big C. Tiger Woods, greatest name in golf, missed the cut in the final 60 seconds. Your thoughts, Big Z?
Well, Charlton, Tiger's been off from the game for a while. Any professional in any sport, you're just not going to walk out and be what you once were. You think about when Michael Jordan came back out of retirement and wouldn't play with the Wizards. He was not the Michael Jordan that people wanted to remember. Charlton, Magic Johnson came back, tried to make a run with the Lakers. He was not the Magic that we thought about. This is why so many professional athletes, when they retire, Charlton, they stay retired. You don't see highly competitive athletes coming back because you set the bar so high.
Yeah.
Not just for the sport, but for yourself.
Yeah.
That you can never eclipse that again. And age catches up with all of us. Will we like to see Tiger be competitive?
Oh, yeah.
It still would be the greatest thing for golf.
Yeah.
But will he be dominant again? This is not the Tiger Woods we saw a decade ago. We won't see him anymore. We will see the image walking around.
Yeah.
But we won't see the dominant individual that we always see during that time, Charlton.
Well, I still say he'll break Jack's record. He has another 10 years of golfing. But I want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, follow Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 media network in the United States. We'll be the only one that does a real sports talk, no teleprompters, and no producer in our ear, Big C. Also want to say there's never any reason for domestic violence, or even as Donald Trump says, torture. There's never any excuse to torture another human being, no matter what political affiliation you have. And I want to say, no matter who you are, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, follow Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. And as we always tell you, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.